All right, here we go on this Monday. Yes. We are ready to roll. Yes. Do we still have the double chats? We still have the double chats. We still need to figure that out. I had a busy weekend, so I did not figure it out. But yes, there's yes. Hi, everybody. Gian says the audio is good. Okay. We will get to that. Yes. There's Richard. We are going to talk to John Katz, managing editor at rising.com. Let's see. Who is signing up to me? Here we go. That's right, Henry B. Yep. Will you please delete the arrest of the person from North Providence? All right, I'll touch on that. What do you think about it? There's Chuck. Folks, where's Chuck Miss Charlie? Using a different account. No doubt. All right, folks, here we go. Boy, that video of Dollar Tree, the Family Dollar, excuse me, really took off. I should also explain, actually, let me back up. Just a smidge. Okay, it's a little bit better. Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Who's this person reaching out to me? Who is this person bothering me is what they're doing. Now, folks, I also want to just take this moment and one of the reasons I explain it is so then if some of you guys see something, you can say something. When we get the oh okay. Okay. All right. I thought there was more to it than that. But anyhow. Let me get back on track here. I should, yes, very, very busy. So I want to just, I mean, I'm a little surprised I have to explain this, but obviously I have to explain it. But here you have these people. I put out what the North Providence Police put out. So why do these people send me questions? You know what? I'm doing something wrong that these people are. Yeah, okay. Okay, contact North Providence Police. We're going to start. They're the ones that put it out. And we're going to start right now at 1:06. Folks, good afternoon. I want to, obviously, we're live right now on X. And he was arrested. So I'm not sure why this person is then coming after me saying that's defamation, So it's how many get in line for the lawsuits. Go. Please remove the post. The car was registered. Your post false information. This is defamation of character. He's not a criminal. Okay, file away. Now, let me stay on track here before the police put out, this individual in North Providence. The police put it out. So you want to contact them about this individual. What's his name? Kendall Miller from Providence. He was driving a vehicle without a license plate affixed to it. He was driving an unregistered vehicle. So he's driving without a license plate. They pull him over. The car's unregistered, and then he's got a Glock in the front seat. That was put out by North Providence Police. I'm being contacted by someone who's now claiming they're going to take legal action against me. Delete the post. His car was registered. There'll be a lawsuit filing. Want to advise you, delete it. It's false information. This post also a all cap defamation of character. I'm going to contact, and you need to contact the North Providence Police, madam. As long as if you really want to stay sane here. Yes. Exactly, Chuck. Don't shoot the messenger is right. The boy, they always threaten the lawsuits, don't they? I mean, maybe you don't realize that, but I realize it. So, but right now we are live as we speak on X. We are live on YouTube, and I will immediately later today. I will adjust how I see that we still have the two chats on YouTube. I don't know when they've introduced portrait. I obviously hit a button. I'm not going to keep talking about it, by the way. And also on Friday, that was not my fault. When we had attorney Stephanie Murphy, someone put, "Oh, it's because you have the two chats on YouTube." That's not it. That's not because of it. It had to do with the fact that she had poor Wi-Fi. There's another person. Oh, another lawsuit. This North Providence guy. Listen, you contact the North Providence Police. I don't know what else to tell you. They released his mugshot, and they released his press release. Wow, look at this language. Terrible. I can't believe what I'm seeing here. Look at this. Everything you post is not true. I don't know about everything I post is not true. That sounds like an exaggeration. All right, this Justin. We're going to start. God, these people. All right, I'm going to repeat for these individuals in case you want to contact, you're contacting the wrong person. This story, this is not an exclusive by any means. This story will be, I would think, on Channel 10 and Channel 12. So if this is an incredible, hi there, Bill, misunderstanding, you need to contact them, the North Providence Police, and have them put something. I'm trying to be helpful here. And for whatever reason, they have a press release and mugshot that he was taken into custody and had a Glock in the front seat, a car, yes, a car that had no license plate. And on top of that, the car was not registered. So just for whoever needs to hear it, your argument is not with me. This isn't, I even say from North Providence Police, I'm not even claiming this is, you don't see the word exclusive. I'm not saying, hey, I just broke this. I'm not saying that. I don't claim that. This isn't a Ponagansett situation. I said contact the police. Now, after all of this, slander, defamation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, thank you. By the way, I love watching your show. Listen, there is, you want to contact them and explain this remarkable misunderstanding. Contact the chief. I'm trying to be helpful here, folks. Thank you. My goodness. All right. Yes. All right. I don't know why. All right. I don't know if that's necessary, unless there are people that are not being respectful. But how? Before we talk Justin Katz politics this week, let me just stay on track here. We do have quite a bit of stories up on DePietro.com. And one of the things that you can check is we also have the situation, and we don't have a full update on Pontegansett. I know people want an update on Pontegansett. I'm telling you right now, the state police are investigating. People ask me what's going on with Barrington. There is no update on Barrington. He's still there. But this portion of the program is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. Stop in and see them. And right now, pumpkin, straw bales, corn stalks, corn, mums and kale are outstanding. This is the ideal time for planting. Stop in and see them. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. You know, I actually don't like that comment because it's usually just like one person. So I don't like generalizations. You can go after someone specifically. But folks, check out DePietro.com. All right, let's bring him on. And our son is politics this week. And he is the one and only. It is Justin Katz. Justin, I want to start off. Kathy Gregg has a piece in this morning's Providence Journal. This guy, he was originally from Rhode Island, moved to Florida, kicking the tires on a possible run against Congressman Seth Magaziner. And Magaziner is out of the box already attacking him. His name is Vic Meller, and I'd be curious to hear some of your thoughts. Again, this is as far as I'm aware of, the first blurb we're seeing anything about a potential challenger to Seth Magaziner.
Right. Well, it is kind of peculiar that out of the box he would be giving an interview to the Providence Journal like this. It looks like they did a sit down interview at a cafe or something, and he acknowledges that he was president on January 6th, and it's a highlight of his life. And I'm for that. I kind of like that idea of pushing back on a narrative there, but I don't know that he understood what a journalist at the Providence Journal thinks he's saying when he says something like that and what they'll intend to use it for. I mean, it's good that we've got opposition to Seth Magaziner, although I think Dr. Scully's in that district, right? So that would set up a primary on the Republican side potentially. But yeah, we're seeing the social media already start to say, and Seth Magaziner with his fundraising email, everything's fundraising with the Democrats. This is not a test. This is an alarm. There's a General Flynn ally who's insurrectionist running for Congress. He's going to milk it for all it's worth. But it'll be interesting to watch, and I hope Meller's got some intention of making something of this rather than just giving the Providence Journal an opportunity to slam him for a bit.
Give me your impressions a little bit of the article, and also, I'm not saying I disagree with you, Justin. What do you think of his decision initially to sit down with Kathy Gregg?
Well, I'd like to know the strategy behind it. Sometimes, and I've been seeing this almost since I started with Anchor Rising. Sometimes these candidates they'll enter in. If they've got a little money or connections, they'll bring in out-of-state consultants. And so a lot of the times I expect they would instantly say, well, let's get a story in the major newspaper of the state. It's a dangerous thing because they are so hostile, and you've got to recognize that. So I kind of question that as a rollout. I mean, it seems like, especially with the potential for a primary, which I as far as I know, he's got every reason to know exists. It seems like you'd want to do stuff that would connect with your base first and start to build up that support, especially since he's more or less an unknown quantity around here. I mean, I've seen him at some events in the past couple months, but not like Dr. Scully, who's been involved deeply for a long time. So you'd think he'd be making those inroads, but I'm sure you've seen it too with especially local first-time candidates. They'll sit down with the local, say the East Bay journalist or the Providence Journal journalist, if they can get that far. They'll sit down like they're friendly, and journalists are trained. I've been through this myself many times with them. They're trained to make it seem like, hey, I'm just yucking it up with you. We're buddies here, to draw out those good dynamite quotes they can put in their stories. They're not just doing it to get headlines, although they're doing that. They're doing it to frame Republicans as villains, as the criminals. They've invested a lot of effort in making January 6th seem like Pearl Harbor, which it wasn't. But that's how they see it. That's how their readers will see it. And I'm sure Magaziner is going to milk his gullible supporters for extra money just because of that.
Yeah, we'll see where this plays out. Now, I've also heard State Senator Jessica De La Cruz is also potentially looking at that. So, I don't know. We will see how it plays out. So far, one has formally announced that they're going to challenge Democrat Seth Magaziner. I come back to Justin. I like the idea that there's interest. Magaziner, the first thing he did, and he's done, what he has done is broken the first promise he made to voters in the 2nd district, which was that he was going to move into the district. And then it just goes from there. And you and I have talked about, the state is not served by having this all Democrat delegation when right now, Congress or the White House is controlled by the Republican Party. So, but I like that there's interest. I hope that they can rally maybe behind one candidate instead of these unnecessary primaries. But if that's the way that it goes, that's the way it goes. Another thing, Justin, I just want to get your thought on it. And I recognize this isn't a huge story for some people, but on Thursday, the Cranston police made a very dramatic arrest. And it was a guy who was literally running around in the afternoon. Kids are out of school. It's around 2:30, 3 o'clock, Cranston Street, broad daylight. He's got a knife, and he first runs into a laundromat. He's trying to open doors of different cars. And then he eventually runs into Taco Bell and runs into a freezer at Taco Bell. So Cranston police go, they get the guy out. It's pretty dramatic with the body cam footage. Obviously, who knows? There's something wrong. Maybe he took something on something. But here's my point. The Cranston police put out information that this guy was actually an illegal from Vietnam. And they tried to deport him like years ago, almost 20 years ago. Then in 2020, but he was essentially illegally in the country, and the Cranston police were contacting ICE. So I was the first one actually that had the story. And then I checked Channel 12 had all that information. I think Channel 6 had that information. But Channel 10, they omitted the first story they did had no mention of the fact that he was illegal, what his immigration status was, and potentially, the Cranston police were contacting ICE. I just wondered, again, we're not going to go, but to me, it's one of those things that should not be ignored. That is, you're going, I'm not saying, I'm not even claiming I did extra reporting. We all got the same information. Why is it Channel 12 put out he was an illegal? Obviously, I put out he was an illegal. But, why would Channel 10? Why would you purposely remove that from the information? I just wanted to get your thought on it.
Well, I think that all the other news stations probably wanted to, although the information was there. But it's almost like a tell. They don't want to allow that narrative to form. That every time somebody, especially an immigrant, is arrested or whatever, we have to report on whether they're legal or illegal. When in reality, if journalists behaved as they advertise themselves as behaving, that would be part of every story, because it's a giant part of the immigration story in the United States right now. Whether you like it or not, that's a bit of information your readers always want to know. And then when you start to hear across multiple states, 2007, 2020, deportation orders, it's as if he bounced to another state, got it there, then moved to another state. And that's a big part of the political story right now. And they don't want to go down that road because it's bad for the side they prefer, which is the Democrats.
Now, Justin, two other stories for Katz's Corner. One is, what do you make of Republican Mike Chippendale going after DOT for the Washington Bridge is running on time and on budget for the replacement of the bridge?
Right. Well, as he said, it's just silly to have those out there. It's almost like an affront, like a thumb in the eye. It's like, it made me think of how McKee keeps going out there on the radio and other places and saying, it's only 15 minutes. What's everybody complaining about? That's kind of his refrain. This is sort of like, in your face, I'm going to put up a sign. And it brings me back to when Raimondo started Roadworks, with the put up the sign as an advertisement of what she was doing for the state. It is in very poor taste. I agree with Representative Chippendale. It's poor taste to be putting out these signs now. It is like an insult, on time and on budget. it shouldn't be an issue anyway. It's not as if this was a planned project. It's just ridiculous. I mean, the sign should say, "Don't worry, I'm out of office soon," instead of when they're going to fix the bridge. But they can't stop themselves. It's like a free promotion, free advertisement. And it'd be nice though if somebody in the mainstream media would use this as an excuse to go back to Raimondo and say, "Hey, what do you think of these signs? You initiated them. Is this appropriate use of them?" That would be kind of interesting, but nobody seems to want to ask her about Washington Bridge.
Yeah, I agree. Now, also speaking of Raimondo, she was in the news. She spoke at Harvard. She did get some local coverage. One of the things she mentioned, and I do think it's interesting, is she is now admits that 10 years ago they were encouraging all these young professionals. Oh, you want to become a someone as far as if you can within computers, if you can be a coder, we need coders. So you have all these people that went into that. And now here it is, Justin, 10 years later, and AI is going to be knocking people out of all those jobs.
Right. Well, to me, the important point here is it's not even just encouraging young people, because everybody does that. Hey, you should be a plumber. It looks like a good place to go right now. Everybody does that, but what needs to be understood is that this is Rhode Island's entire economic program. Is we let these politicians pick and choose what they think is going to be the big industry. We get see it: blue economy, medical economy, this economy. At one point, I made fun of the local chamber of commerce because it was all about brains. It was brain technology. That is going to hit us right in the jaw when something like artificial intelligence comes up, and we've invested our limited resources. So to me, the big story is, please, Raimondo, please, Democrats, admit you don't know what you're doing. You are not qualified to tell young people or businesses what business they should go into. We should just make it all nice and make Rhode Island a great place to do business, period, rather than picking and choosing losers or winners because they pick losers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's the ultimate. It's almost like the scene out of Animal House of like, face it, you screwed up, you trusted us. I mean, how many people listened to that and said, okay, it's coming from her. She's the governor. And all right, she says it's going to be in coding. And now, suddenly all these years later, and it certainly does not pan out. Folks, it's time for Katz's Corner during our segment Politics This Week. This is a story that Justin Katz has found. And what do you have for us this week, Justin?
Well, so this week I updated, Anchor Rising has a data armory, I call it. And one of the modules is October enrollment in our school system. And I updated it for last year's data. Hopefully this year's data will be out soon for the 25 to 26 school year. But specifically what I looked at first was in Tiverton, the football team had to cancel almost all of the rest of its games because they just don't have the students. Well, it turns out Tiverton has had like a 34% decrease in enrollment since in the last couple decades. And I suggest that this is going to keep happening to our schools, even as we spend hundreds of millions of dollars on new schools throughout the state. So I encourage readers to check that out. And I'll be continuing stories based on this data. I mean, there's some stuff that kind of jumps out on you. So for example, there's been a huge statewide jump in free and reduced lunch in school. So we're getting a lot more poverty cases we have to pay for. And there's also a giant leap in English as a second language students, especially in Providence. It's like a blip. These are trends. I think we all have probably theories about why they've happened, and I'll be looking into that over the next few weeks.
Folks, again, you can read all of that at anchorrising.com. He is Justin Katz, managing editor of anchorrising.com. Justin, excellent job as always, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you, John. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, folks, and there it is, Justin Katz, managing editor. Our segment, Politics This Week. Now, I do want to mention, since we have this new dynamic, I am going to address this situation. Let your imagination, and it stands up to me. In the past, this whole situation was so smooth, and now all of a sudden, since the app has introduced this element, it's not your imagination. I can also tell that there's a little bit of a slight delay. So God bless me. We will be adjusting that. We will be adjusting that, folks. I meant to adjust it over the weekend, and then we just it was not adjusted over the course of the weekend. All right. Now, I also and not to belabor about, there we go. There's the one that I want. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Call Propane Plus today for all your propane needs. Now, there they are. If you're watching on the screen, it's propaneplus.com, residential or commercial. You can depend on Propane Plus. You see their website. The website is available 24/7. It's propaneplus.com. And then you just type in, is this for residential or is this for, you can see commercial. You can depend on Propane Plus, business, residential, heating or cooling. You can depend, and it's online at propaneplus.com. Now, I do want to just quickly kind of finish the thought. So there's definitely, I fully get that with social media, of which by my own choosing, obviously, no one forced me, heavily vested, heavily involved. You at times interact with people clearly that you would never interact with in your, normal life. And it's there's something broken the way that people approach things. And like I said, many times I have found in the past, I used to try to reason with people, and then you realize it's not even worth it, and they have the block button for a reason. So now again, this latest example, North Providence Police put out an individual that the police claim was riding without a license plate in an unregistered car, and he had a Glock in the car, and so he was taken into custody. And then after we published that, we have, I'm assuming, someone who's very friendly with him, if not related to him, who then starts attacking. But what I try to do is explain to the individuals with my incredible patience that this is the ultimate. You want to take it up with law enforcement. So I don't know this individual. I'm not the one that stopped him. I don't know exactly what happened, but the police claim that he was riding without a license plate, and it's an unregistered car. And then after they pulled him over, that he had, I think it was with a 12 mag Glock in the car. So my point is, you want to take it up with them, not with the police. Put out the information and then we posted on it, but they don't even approach people in a nice manner, so to speak. Now, the other thing was, and not to go on and on about it, but so Saturday night we were on road patrol, and a call came over the radio of two individuals robbing Family Dollar. So, and for those of you that have seen it, this is nothing against the police, and they are getting called all different things. If anything, I think it's a good example that sometimes police are pulled in different directions on some of these nuisance calls when they should instead be referring to things that are a little more serious, like a robbery of a store. Now, I understand people can't get past Family Dollar, but it doesn't mean that they were trying to steal a dollar. It means the way it came over, because we've covered some of these before. They go up, meaning someone goes up to the counter and they try to rob the cash register. People say, what is this? Trying to rob a dollar? No, if someone, there was somebody that robbed a Family Dollar, I think on Warwick Avenue down near Bishop Hendricken. We went to that, and they stole, it was like a couple $100 that were in the cash register at the time. We went to one, somebody ripped off, I think is a Dollar General maybe in West Warwick. And again, they spoke, or I should say they took like a couple $100. It's like a quick hit. And those stores are set up like retail, so they seem to be an easier mark. But I just want to be clear, and whoever needs to hear this. So when we're there, we don't know who they're going to bring out. So we happen to be there. They happen to bring out 3 females. I don't know ages. and they seem to be 3 females of color. So I want to clarify that that's not racist. We had no idea. They could, as I said, they could have taken out 3 white nuns. We had no idea who it was. People throw that term around. We had maybe I was even ready to leave because then I thought, oh, maybe they ran out the week. We couldn't see anybody the way because it was inside the store. But we don't know who they're going to bring out. Oh, that's racist. That's like we don't know who it is, for crying out loud. We had no idea. All we heard was females in the store robbing the store. And then we showed up like that. So I don't want to go on and on about it. So, but for those of you that do listen and watch, I fully get it. We need to figure out exactly some of the, because I can see right now that maybe there's a problem with some of the comments. So either people aren't making them or I'm just not seeing them. But we will get to the bottom of it, and then I understand. I mean, it's one thing we're led, nothing's a little bit more of a dilemma, but we will get to the root of that. So as far as the government, with all this talk, I don't see locally any press that are coming up with any solutions or saying what they're going to encourage to try to end this. I see that people are concerned that SNAP benefits are going to come into play and potentially could affect them. But locally, as far as Congressman Gabe Amo and Congressman Magaziner, I'm following the news. I don't see them saying, maybe it is time that we settle and come up with an agreement that's going to work for everybody. I certainly don't see that. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Kids Club on the Pike. Kids Club on the Pike. Now remember, birthday party venue, before and after school care. They could also do preschool. They're located right off of 295, right on Plainfield Pike on the Cranston-Johnson line. It's Kids Club on the Pike. So now again, it is perfect for a youth celebration, but then they also are a good alternative for before and after school care or preschool. Check them out. You can contact them. They have very good social media that I share. 401-443-5336 for Kids Club on the Pike. So now they're also, we posted another video. I don't think it's your imagination. There does seem to be an uptick with a lot of these rollovers. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not saying I have a solution for it, but there's definitely something up. So this morning, a car, I think it may have been an Amazon driver. And we posted the video, and they went flying through a stop sign, and they went crashing into a van. And you can see the video where there were 6 men in the van. So it sounds as if maybe they were going to a work site. I have no idea, just quite frankly. I don't know who they are, where they were headed. We don't have those types of details. This happened in real time. I can already see the questions. Who are these people? How old are they? Do you understand the person that was filming, a member of Team One? It was happening they were kicking out the glass to try to get them out. You don't start saying, no, wait a minute. How many are you? How old are you? What are your names and where do you live and where you head? No, it's not a matter of that. So, but there is something odd with all of these rollos. If you've seen the video, it's not a perfect analogy of it, but it's a little bit of reminiscent the opening of Heat, where the white truck stolen out of Whittier, and then it takes it goes flying speed and knocks over the armored truck. It's a little bit like that. Now, there's 2 things that I want to just mention. One, I'm looking at Channel 10. North Providence police arrest man on firearm charge. There's my story. Good. So they can contact him or contact Channel 10. Same story. He's facing charge of possession of a firearm without a license or permit. There you go. They found a loaded firearm inside. Vehicle was also unregistered. This is Channel 10, the team you can't trust. seeing a vehicle without a license plate. So the people that were contacting me, guess what? Now you can contact. Now, here's a clue. Why not contact the police? I mean, it seems legit to me. And instead of lashing out using language that is not broadcast friendly at those that are just carrying the story put out by law enforcement. But there's two stories I want to touch on. And one is the hurricane and the other is the SNAP benefits. So but I want to stay on schedule here. Folks, this portion of the program, let me pull up our next graphic. You know, just as we had mastered it, they changed this thing. They think they're helping me. They're not. Hardly. No, you're not helping. Now suddenly this, I'll figure it out exactly what is the problem. But remember, when disaster strikes, and disaster could be coming, because I was going to mention, there is a Category 5 storm that is out there, Cat 5 hurricane. And it's very possible. We don't know. Maybe it is going to come here. Maybe it is going to strike. Just remember, when disaster strikes, ServPro of Providence. Call them today, 401-941-5500. 401-941-5500. Water damage, fire, mold, storm recovery, fast, thorough, professional. ServPro of Providence. 401-941-5500, ServPro of Providence. We don't know if he's taking visitors just yet. So, but I do want to touch on, and I'm seeing the same headlines that other people are, and that is, let me just start with the hurricane story, because it does seem right now, Category 5 Hurricane Melissa set to make landfall in Jamaica tomorrow. Continues to strengthen. Now it's a Cat 5 sitting south of Jamaica. The potent storm is packing winds of 165 miles per hour sustained. Slow westward movement. Slight adjustment to the most recent forecast with the storm. National Hurricane Center expecting a stronger storm tracking just a little bit further west than previous thinking. This is not great news for the southern coast of Jamaica, as more of the shore will now be exposed. Well, here's the part of the only reason I'm mentioning this is then they show, despite encountering more land friction, the storm is expected to be a Category 4 or 5 hurricane when it makes landfall in Jamaica Tuesday morning. Let's see, the risk for the island, blah, blah, blah. Well, where's the only thing I care about is if it could be heading our way. Oh, okay. The storm's not expected to directly impact the mainland of the U.S. Well, then, why do you have it on the Channel 10 website then, for crying out loud? Shouldn't you be posting stories that don't mention the illegals? The part I was going to mention, if it was saying, is in a situation like that, they give out advice. They give advice on what to do and what not to do. And then it's up to you as an adult to adhere to that. I think sometimes there's too many people, I believe, that they want to be treated like infants. They are treated like infants. They are very needy individuals. And as I've said, and I'm not the first one, it's not a new phenomenon, but there are people that cater to that. And it's really the Democrat Party. They basically cater to, hi there, Ryan. You do, like, don't worry about anything. We'll handle everything for you. And then when there's a bump in the road, no one seems to know how to adjust to it. Now, I played a little bit earlier. I am, like a lot of people should be, but I'm very interested in this mayoral race in New York. And not just because I've lived in New York and not because I have a family member living there. But with all this talk about where they attack the current administration and they talk about democracy's on the line, and this is the big talking about, oh, you know, it's democracy and democracy's on the line and blah, blah, blah. Well, there's something else on the line, and that is the United States. It's capitalism. I don't see the same coverage or concern about a potential socialist taking over New York City. this business of housing, I don't like all these government assisted housing developments they want to build. That to me, it just sounds like it's just going to be eventually it's all that's like a very socialist run government housing. I have no interest in living. That's not the United States. That's not our policy. Socialism, they've tried it. It fails. Communism, they tried it. It fails. It continues to fail. So all of this talk, I don't see all of the local press or some of the local elected officials when they talk about the danger of because of president, democracy's on the line and I don't know. But I don't see them saying anything that you're talking about a true socialist coming in. And I don't think that term, I don't think it's widely understood. I don't think there's enough attention to it, the danger of it. Socialism fails, and there's more and more of it. And there's a socialist running who wants to be the mayor of Providence. And it's not complicated. It's basically the rich and the poor. It's you take all the money from those that work and earn money, and you support all these people who choose not to work or who don't have any money. And it's a failed system because there's no incentive. There's no drive. One of the things in the United States, in the free world, and is you make the money and you get to keep the money. In these communist countries and these socialist countries, they take it from you. And so what happens? You lose the drive. Of course, I understand people pay taxes, but how much in taxes? And I'm seeing there's more and more of a larger number of people. And they're basically making demands. They're sitting back and they're making demands and starting to be a mob. And a lot of it does seemingly revolve around housing. It does revolve around housing. Rhode Island has too much red tape when it comes to housing. There's special interest involved. Housing should not be that complicated. But the way they do it in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, in New York City, as a matter of fact, it is problematic that way. But my point is, it's very dangerous talk. Everything free. Well, we know everything's not free. Free buses, that's Mondami. Well, who's going to pay for that? It's like anything else. There's David Morales running for mayor of Providence. I would argue socialism. If these people want to march around and have their little protests, and most of they did a breakdown of who is it that was marching with these no kings, and it was mostly educated white women over the age of 40. So again, I'm saying this whole notion of socialism that is there are countries failing and have tried to do it and have failed because of it. That to me is more of a danger than a president that's saying, I think we should have a nice ballroom at the White House. We entertain, we do all these events, and there's nowhere to house people. So why don't we, update the building a little bit? I think the idea that someone announcing everything's free and all we're going to do is take more money from the people that have it, I think that's more dangerous than this whole notion that people love to throw names about a dictator and so forth. All right, I want to stay on schedule here because I do want to touch on the SNAP benefits. I understand, and locally, there's, of course, it's disconcerting to people who depend on it. Come back to also, I remember they changed the name. Rhode Island College used to have, they called it the Poverty Institute, and now I don't know what they changed the name to something else for whatever reason. But I'm going to touch on that in just a moment. Folks, I want to remind you about J. Perry Paving. Call them today, Why not get your driveway paved? Now, you need to get on the list before they shut down for the season. 401 732 1730. Well, what does that mean? It means they're not going to be paving your driveway when it's 10 degrees outside and then you have snow and ice. So now is the time. And if you don't get it done now, then you have to wait till the spring. But give them a call, free estimate, 401 732 1730. Can you mention my name? Of course, absolutely. Be glad to. They're terrific. And everyone I send to them, they come away, raving about how great they were. 401 732 1730. What I also love about letter J, J. Perry Paving, they have a special package for veterans. So if you're a veteran, maybe your dad is, maybe your mom, brother, grandson, whoever, special package for veterans. J. Perry Paving, 401 732 1730. You're going to see panic now, and you're starting to see some of the articles that are panicking because they're saying the SNAP benefits. And listen, I understand that some people go through a difficult time and people need assistance. And that's one of the great things that I think we have about the United States is we do try to help American citizens. But like a lot of people, there never seems to be any effort to curb a lot of the waste and fraud. There are people that manipulate the system, don't seem to face any consequences. When there was a Craigslist, I have no idea if people go on Craigslist anymore. I don't even know if that exists or where it is. But there are people that would go online. I know Craigslist, and I think maybe even on Facebook. And what would they be doing? They'd be selling EBT cards. They found a way to manipulate it, and they sell them. And so that certainly doesn't seem right. So all this panic about, that SNAP benefits may not be available because it's the first of the month. I remember back 08, 09, right around there, maybe even 2010, it was a big story in the Washington Post, and it was about Woonsocket. And it was about the people, they highlighted the stores that do phenomenal business first of the month. I remember at the time people told me, no, I'm a first of the month type store. That's when we do all our business. All the people come in, the food stamps. But I remember this Washington Post story where they talked about these people that they only use their food stamps to get things like steak and lobster and expensive gourmet items like that. And they would drive around all the food pantries. They had a way that they felt they were gaming the system. They'd pick up soups, they'd pick up whatever they needed to. And they're what did they spend on food? They didn't spend anything on food. They got it all through the EBT card, and then they got so much of it from all of these food pantries. But my point is, at no point do you see anyone that starts to encourage them to say, how are we going to get you off this system? To me, people panicking, what am I going to do if we don't get those SNAP benefits? But what if there was a storm? This is an unusual situation. This is where people are resentful and they actually get nasty at the thought that they might have to fend for themselves, that they may have to find a way to take care of themselves. Think of the number of people listening or watching, and you go to your job, you get paid. You may not love the job, but it pays the bills and it's an honest day's work. And you make your car payment and you pay your local taxes, and then you have to shop and you have to pay your mortgage, and you do all the things that you have to do. And it may not be glamorous, it may not be exciting, and it may be difficult at times, but you are that to me is actually the American dream. And you're being a responsible adult and citizen. But we are surrounded by people. And I talk about this. And social media is one of the ways that you see it. Just like when I showed the picture of that guy that had the couch and the chair above the highway overpass on Orm Street, blocking the sidewalk as if he should be there. Kids are going by and he's, a guy's laying there with no shirt on and urinating on himself. And the reaction of some people, well, where's he supposed to go? Well, if he can't be there, then what is your plan for him? Why should I have a plan for him? My question would be, where does he want to go? What's his plan for himself? But the reaction of people, well, where are they supposed to go? As if they're just infants. I talked about with the Foxy Village, state land, and they got those homeless pallets, right? The homeless pallets, Foxy Village behind the Foxy Lady. And how was it introduced? This is going to be good temporary housing for those people until they, get their feet underneath them and then, transition into permanent housing. Now, I am in communication with someone that has a business over there. And so then that individual is very involved. And as you would expect, he claims, and I have no reason to doubt this, but because he's had to work with them because he has a business over there and affects his business. But what so no one's leaving, no one's left, and no one's leaving. So why does that matter? Well, the idea that this is just temporary. This is going to be temporary till they, get a leg up and then get everything together. And well, now you gave them a free pallet shelter, and then there's a common bathroom they can use that has, commode and then shower and so forth. But here's the thing. They're not leaving. No one's leaving. They now treat that's where I live. This is where I live. This is my house. I'm not paying rent. I'm not paying rent somewhere. I'm staying right here for free. If I were to pay rent, then, where do I get the money for cigarettes? Where do I get the money for cannabis? Where do I get the money for booze? I have a dog, blah, blah, blah. They're not leaving. They are, in essence, now permanent. That sounds permanent to me. Leave. No, there's still a waiting list of people that will say, hey, I want in on that. I want to have my own home. Yeah, well, it's really not a home. It's a pallet shelter, and it's meant to just be temporary housing and blah, 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 until you get on your feet a little bit. That's why we were hearing this will enable them to get a job, and then they can have an address. And then, this is, the first step in their new life to turn things around. Here it is a year later. None of them are working. None of them have any intentions of leaving. And they're the envy of other people that are, I wish I had, free homeless shelter, pallet shelter to live in. So my point is that the dynamic is not changing. The dynamic is not changing. If David Morales becomes the mayor, they'll put up 10,000 of those things. And then all these people will be living in them for free. And then they turn to everybody else and say, where's my lunch? Where's my dinner? Where's my spending money? You were supposed to go to work today. How am I supposed to eat if you're not going to work to get me the food that I need? So I can stay here for free. I'm very busy. Smoking all day and drinking and playing with my dog. So you need to get to work. Folks, speaking of work, it'd be great before winter settles in. And that is if you call Corey and get your garage epoxied or patio or decorative concrete flooring. There's the number on your screen. Quality Asphalt Seal Coating, 401-283-9815. 401-283-9815 for quality asphalt seal coating. Get it done. when you epoxy your garage or patio or decorative concrete flooring, it makes a huge difference. And on top of that, it's not a huge job. Get your garage epoxied. Makes a big difference. Or they could resurface a pickleball court, tennis court, basketball court. They can make your pavement look like new. Crack filling, pothole repair, quality asphalt. They epoxy garages and patios and decorative concrete flooring. Call Corey today. Request a free quote, 401-283-9815 for quality asphalt seal coating. So right now, President Trump is obviously traveling and is overseas with this Asia trip. And he's working. The rest of them don't seem to be working right now. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't see anyone ask Gabe Amo, Congressman Amo, or Magaziner, well, why don't you vote in favor of reopening the government? There's no talk of that. Maybe it's going to have to come down to that the SNAP benefits get frozen. I know that people are already stocking up and preparing that way, but what if there were no SNAP benefits? How would people get by? Right? What if there were none? What if they didn't get these things for free? What if kids didn't get a free breakfast and free lunch at school? What if the parents had to get up and make the breakfast? What if the parents had to pack a brown bag and send them to school with a tuna fish sandwich? You know, I'm youngest of 7. My mother used to make, 7 lunches. So what if we didn't have that dependency that people have fallen into? All right, folks, if you are listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Everyone else, we'll monitor. We will monitor. Make sure you visit the website, depetro.com, and enjoy this Monday.